The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Have you taken the evidence to the local FBI office in Phoenix?
No, FBI office is part of the Department of Justice.
I understand that. But I'm just saying, just to put it on their lap and say, now, what are you going to do with it?
No, we won't do it, because we've also had individuals that contacted the FBI, and the reception that they got over this topic was less than desirable. So we're not going anywhere near the FBI.
Yeah, I had that one time with an FBI. I called them, this was years ago out in California. I had suspicion about a particular man being a Chinese espionage agent, and the agent laughed at me on the telephone. And he made fun of me, made me feel like an idiot. And I told him, I said, you know what? Now I know how the Chinese steal so many of our secrets, because we have idiots like you in the FBI. And that ended the conversation. Well, about a year later, that agent was arrested, and he's in federal prison right now because he was a Chinese spy.
There you go. Wow, that's an incredible story. That's incredible.
Yeah. So the corruption is so deep, Mike. It's mind-boggling. Our government has been compromised, and we've got people in high-level positions that really aren't loyal to the country, and or if they're not disloyal, they're certainly not going to do anything that's going to harm their political career if it means taking a stand for what's right. And that's a major problem. Of course, the news media has treated you guys with nothing but disdain and hostility.
Yes. And, as a result of the last press conference, we did uncover very uncomfortable, alliances. We had a reporter from News Channel 5 out here in Arizona really, kind of get in our face, use the Alinsky tactics after our last press conference, trying to discredit the messengers. And unbeknownst to us, we didn't really pay more attention to it than what it was. We had a supporter of the sheriff contact us, who hired a private investigator to look into this individual. And it turned out that this news reporter is the director and the past president of an organization in Phoenix, First Amendment Coalition. And it turns out that one of the other directors, an attorney by the name of Bob Barr, is part of that organization. And it turns out Bob Barr is an attorney for the law firm of Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie is the law firm that represents Obama and that picked up the birth certificate.
Small world.
Small world. This news reporter came right out of the gate. This was a in the news business, this was a drive-by. I mean, we didn't even finish our last statement, and this guy started jumping up, trying to use the Alinsky doubt tactics and whatever he tried to do. So much so that even the sheriff, unbeknownst to him of this connection at that time, pointed this guy out and made sure everybody knew what news channel he was from. His name is Morgan Love. And when we found the connection, you really have to start to look about this and think about this. What are we fighting here?
Oh.
And what your listeners really have to, well, I know you know, what your listeners really have to think about, the big question you got to really ask yourself is why and what's the end game?
Well, I'm not going
to
put you on the spot because you're the investigator, but I mean, my audience knows what I think. I believe we're dealing with a foreign plant. I believe this is a subversive operation. It was decades in the making, and we are undergoing a silent coup d'etat of the United States of America right now. I really believe that. I believe the government is being overthrown. And
I think you're correct.
And they're getting away with it because either people at the highest levels are either complicit and involved in the conspiracy, or they're too cowardly to take a stand against it.
Yes. and it's a scary, scary time.
It would make a great Tom Clancy novel.
I don't even think Tom could make this stuff up.
No, because he would say, some of the stuff is too silly, like, some of the stuff is so sloppy, so amateurish, it's not even good spy stuff.
Well, you take even, you even have to try to believe this story of Mr. Obama writing his memoirs at age 35 when he was basically a nobody, and getting paid $140,000 advance to do that. And then they come back and, if you painfully read that thing, it's garbage. And then it turns out that purported girlfriends in there come forward and saying this stuff never happened. And then they start chalking this thing off to being almost a work of fiction. Now, what was the purpose of writing the memoir? It was to give him a cover story for a life that never happened.
Well,
everything about him is a story, and every document attached to him is fraught with problems.
I'm sure you're aware that when he was a junior senator, he immediately was chosen to go on a trip to Russia with Senator Lugar.
I heard that.
And you know what happened to him in Russia? They detained him.
I heard that.
They detained him as a possible British spy.
Right, I heard that.
I mean,
I heard that.
A lot of people suspect this guy to be some type of agent. So we really don't know who we're dealing with. Hey, one quick question, Mike, before I let you go. What name did he operate under before he went into the White House, or I should say into the, Illinois State Senate and the U.S. Senate?
Barry Soetoro.
See, there's
Barry Soetoro was the name before he decided to change it himself.
So we have a man in the White House who has two names.
You have a man in the White House that actually has three aliases. You have Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, and you have Zoe Barker. Zoe Barker came on the mother's passport information when she was going back and forth to Indonesia. She listed as a Zoe Barker. We have yet to know what that really means, but that's how she represented him.
So he's got three names. He's got three names.
Three that we know. Yes. The only American president that has aliases. I have yet to find one other than that has aliases. I don't have an alias, do you?
No, I don't. And I don't know anybody who, I don't have any friends that have three names.
No, you don't.
They're not the type of people I'd hang around with.
No.
They're the type of people I'd be calling the cops to report.
I would agree with you, and that's what's there.
Yeah, well, that's what we're doing on the radio right now. We're reporting a criminal who resides at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. My guest today, Detective Michael Zollo, Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. Thank you, Detective. Appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
This stuff is unbelievable. I mean, we have a foreign plant in the White House, and nobody in authority wants to even look at the evidence. It really is mind-boggling that this is taking place. If you don't know anything about that story I mentioned there at the end with Mike about Mr. Obama being detained by the Russians when he was a new senator, you can find that story on the internet. He was traveling with Senator Lugar of Indiana, and the Russians held him because they thought he was a British spy. Well, at the time Mr. Obama was born, if he was born in Kenya, Kenya was ruled by the British Empire. So maybe Mr. Obama doesn't work for the Kremlin. Maybe he works for Her Majesty the Queen. That would be an interesting twist to this story, that Queen Elizabeth is orchestrating, the royal family is orchestrating bringing America back in under her fold. I'm Rick Wiles.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.